Hi, my name is Angelina, and this is Healers Helping Healers. I am here with Martin from Peace Unplugged. Martin, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Angelina. Yes. So I'm Martin. I started my podcast, Peace Unplugged, around about 4 or 5 months ago. I decided to take early retirement at age 60 in December last year. We both, Angelina and I, both worked in a similar kind of work, although we never met. We both worked as drugs and alcohol counsellors. So we both experienced what it is to do that kind of job and to come out of it. And I needed to release myself from the pressure of that and to find a bit of freedom to go out and to talk to people in the way that I want to, that I feel is correct, rather than being stuck in kind of guidelines and everything else that we have to do in that kind of work. So that's the job I did for 16 years. I did about 20 years of actually working with people in that kind of way. I used to write blogs years ago, and that's how I really found ways of communicating with people all around the world, all over the globe. So this coming into this podcasting is very much my sort of thing, and I really like to chat to people and somehow the universe seems to send me the right people to communicate with as we said before when we spoke. So I'm
This is
also,
absolutely true.
also just a little bit of background. I've been married since 1988. I've got three grown-up kids. I've got three grandchildren as well.
Oh, yay. That's wonderful. I love that. What's
And
your wife's name?
I'm also looking forward to, in hopefully with the next 2 to 6 weeks, to build my cabin in the back garden. I got it ordered, and it's being built. So that's going to be my little studio, stroke man cave, stroke music recording studio, stroke hobbit hole to hang out in.
That's right. You do ska music, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That's awesome. I love ska. It's so fun.
yeah. It's a bit of, we would check it out. It's the Beggars Belief band from Kent. We are in the UK. So there's one or two other bands called Beggars Belief, but we're the ska band. So
Oh, cool.
we've been going for about 14 years. So
Oh,
it's really good
wow.
fun. Yeah, it's one of my favourite things to do.
That's so awesome. I love being able to create, and create music is something that I have always wanted to do. I've never learned how to compose, but I absolutely love writing lyrics, and the music just comes into my head and I sing it a cappella. So,
Yeah, yeah, do it. And Angelina, write it down as well. If you get lyrics or you get words that come to you, make sure you write them down.
yeah.
Because I've come across a lot of poets as well, and some really powerful stuff I've had on some of my podcasts. Couple of poets I've had on my podcast, and they're really worth listening to.
Yeah, I do write poetry as well. I actually hadn't written since I was like 16 years old. I hadn't written poetry, and I just picked up one day, and I wrote a poem about an awakening, and I put it on poetry.com because that's where I used to post my poems like back in the day. I should probably do a video of me reading it. It be interesting.
Definitely, definitely that's a good thing to do. I
Yeah.
really do think.
I really truly my whole thing is I believe that we were created to create. We are co-creators of our existence. And so what better way to do that than to channel our
Oh,
love, hope, healing into the arts, whether it be poetry or book writing or novel writing or, podcasting, doing videos, whatever it is that like you feel drawn to, that's like it's everything. It really is. It's everything. So, okay, let me go ahead and explain a little bit about what I hope to get out of this new segment that I'm doing, Healers Helping Healers. I ran into a wonderful woman recently, and I spoke to her about she works with children that are troubled youth, And I spoke to her about what she goes through on a daily basis. And I tied it to being a drug counselor in a Medicaid facility, which in the United States is low income government healthcare. And a lot of the gentlemen that I worked with, some of the females as well, but most of the gentlemen I worked with were straight out of prison, felons, perpetrators that were perpetrators of violent crimes and a lot of drug crimes. And the the correlation between the troubled youth that she was dealing with, the ones prior to getting into drugs and the ones that got into drugs while she was taking care of them or after she was taking care of them, and seeing the correlation between when they were a child and when they were an adult, you could just see that it was all fear based. And so, my whole thing that I want to do with this Healer Helping Healers is to identify what it is that we deal with as self-identified healers. Like and I always say this, we don't heal people, we help people heal themselves. We are a beacon, we are there to shine the light, to help shine a different perspective that they may not have thought about. And that's the most amazing thing, is when they have that aha moment, when you see their eyes light up and go, I never thought about that. Oh, I can work on that. That's something I can do. That's like my favorite thing, to see that recognition in their eyes, the light up of, oh, it's not like something I can't fix. It's something I can do on my own. And that's what I want to help other people learn how to do, and to help other healers, people that are just getting into healing, that maybe just finished healing and want to help other people, because that's exactly what we're here to do, right? You figured out the key
Yeah.
yourself, pass that key along to the next person so they can unlock their little cage. I did a video back in March, and it was all about, like, realizing that what you were pushing against all along wasn't just a big boulder, but a wall around you. And it's your job as the healee to figure out how to get over that wall or under that wall or through that wall, whatever way works for you. And that's what we are doing as healers. And so I want to know, like, for you, what was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome when it came to helping people heal?
What was the biggest obstacle? I think I kind of already knew. I think that with helping people was that we need to have a lot of self-care. I don't think I really realized quite how much is involved with that. And as much as we can have kind of knowledge, intellectual knowledge, that it's about looking after ourselves, and we've got to be careful with other people, and actually allow people to help themselves. It's so easy to get drawn in. I think probably the toughest thing I found with it was being drained. Actually, working with someone who needs that bit of healing for themselves. I'm a bit like you. I mean, I'm just inclined to refer to people as service users or clients. They're just other people that we work with, that we seek to help. And sometimes people take so much from us, in a spiritual way. You can feel really drained, and can feel just completely exhausted by it. And I think if it tends to go, and as much as what we have, you probably have over there, supervision, as much as we have a degree of supervision, it's not paid nearly enough attention to. And I also don't think it's really as effective as it could be. So, as workers, to a certain extent, we try and look after each other and chat to each other about who we were working with, to try and just offload that, because we all we take on stuff and we need to offload it elsewhere. It's not paid enough attention to, I don't think. And a lot of people burn out. In fact, in my view, in that kind of work, is people either they'll do it for a couple of years, they either burn out, move somewhere else, or they get promoted and they climb the greasy pole. And I've got a whole opinion about this thing about getting promoted, is when people get to become seniors or managers, they don't really get the training to be able to manage people, manage their staff. So it becomes, again, that can become can be a quite a toxic situation sometimes. So where I worked, they were very good at looking after the people we were seeking to help, but they were dreadful at looking after each other as workers, as employees, and all that kind of jealousy, and there'd be people, and you see a lot of people come in right at the start where they wanted to be the fixers, they want to fix everybody, and get very frustrated when then again that's another burnout situation. We can give everything of ourselves to try and help somebody, and then actually get it sometimes thrown back in your face, or it just nothing happens, or it gets much worse. The another um, thing I learned about 20 years ago, it's about how we present ourselves as well as human beings. I worked with 16 to 20, 25-year-olds in a hostel, and quite often they come back to the hostel and they got in a fight or something, and they'd just be walking down the same street I walked down, or someone attacked them, or something had happened. I'm thinking, why does it happen to those people, and it doesn't happen to me because I'm just wandering around the street at the same time? And I think it's very much how, when we're out in the public, how we present ourselves, and if we can sometimes show vulnerability. Now, that vulnerability can come across in different ways. So that vulnerability can sometimes come across as aggression. Now, when someone's aggressive, they're also vulnerable.
You make a
You
very
know, 'cause
valid point. You make a very valid point. I'd like to go to the self-care really quick. So one of the things that is extremely important, you are absolutely right. When I was in supervision, like I actually felt like I was in therapy with my clinical director. And a lot of the times, like it helped, but it wasn't enough. And you are absolutely right. I burned out. I was in that for a year, and like after the seventh client dying, I couldn't handle it anymore. And everybody's like, "Well, you got to take that pressure off of yourself." They make that choice, and at that time, like I couldn't understand that. Like I was not as spiritual as I am now. I was still trapped inside of my own trauma, stopped trapped inside of my ego mind, and I didn't know how to help myself. Like I had my hobbies, I did my self-care. I constantly, took care of my nails and my hair and all of that stuff. That's what I thought self-care was. But I wasn't meditating. And I journaled every now and then. And like it wasn't consistent. And it wasn't until I got into spirituality that I realized that it's the energy clearing. So when we're empaths, usually healers are empaths. When we're empaths, we take on all of the energy from the other people because we hurt for them. And we want to take away their pain. And so we take it on ourselves, but then we don't release their pain. We hold it. We may release our own pain, but we're not releasing the pain of the other people. And so it is a very important practice for me to intentionally shower. Okay. So I talk to the water and I ask the water collective, that's exactly what I do. I say, water collective, please wash away any of the energy that is not my own. Release anything that is not my own, that is not for my highest good. And when I allow that water to wash over me, I allow all of the negative energy to go down the drain, because I know that when it goes down the drain, it will be transmuted and turned into something beautiful. I can transmute energy as well, and I do that. But when it's so much energy, so much energy, so much energy, it's just so much easier and more relaxing to take that shower every single night before bed and just allow it to go away. And that is the key, is you have to learn to release. And this is
yeah,
important when we're talking about like the root chakra, because we hold our trauma in our root chakra, which is at the base of the spine. And if you don't allow it to release, it kind of builds up there and gets gunky. And when it gets gunky, it clogs you and then you can't release anything. And you just trap that trauma there. So for anyone who is watching, intentional showers, intentional baths when you or getting into flowing water, whether it be a river or a lake with a river in it or the ocean, whatever it is that suits you, allowing the water to cleanse your soul. This is extremely, extremely useful. And then to the vulnerability piece, to the piece about the how we present ourselves, you are absolutely right. I like to look at it as our vibrational level. Okay. So when we're talking about a vibrational level, we're talking about what energy am I putting off? Am I putting off this low energy, or even people can only respect you as much as you respect yourself. So this is your vibrational level. How much do you love yourself? If you love yourself like way up here, the people that are trying to attack you way down here, you're like, oh, that's a pest. It doesn't really bother me, because it doesn't. It doesn't bother me. You could, squawk all day long in my face and say I'm a terrible, horrible, crazy person, and I'm gonna be like, okay, okay, well, you just don't understand the way that I see things. That's your experience. That's your problem, not mine. If I trigger you, that's your problem. You have trauma that you need to face. So when you raise your vibrational level, or how you present yourself, how you walk, if you walk with your head held high, people are going to be like, oh, that person respects themselves. They have confidence. You can't do anything to them. You can't fuck with them. Like, when I was younger, one of my boyfriends, he called it puffing up. When you puff up, who's gonna mess with you? Like, I'm 5'3" and like maybe 115 pounds, but I walk into a room and I'm like, come on, let's go. You want to fight? Let's go. People don't want to fight with a crazy small person. They don't. And they're like, what are you gonna do? Like, break a glass over my head or something? What's gonna happen? Because I have this air about me that says you can't mess with me. And
Yeah.
it can be intimidating or it can be respect. But either way, they're not going to be at that low vibration, and they're not going to be able to mess with me because I respect myself. We had, like, before I started the video, we were talking about scammers, and someone tried to scam me, and I was like, pretty words don't work on me. I'm sorry, I have too much self-worth, and that you can't trick me, because I know what I'm worth. I know what my value is. So, and then that's exactly what it is that vulnerability piece. Do you walk around in fear, which is also aggression? Because anger is a secondary emotion, right? We know that anger is not the root emotion. It is caused by something else. Typically, and I think in the rehab, we used to talk about like hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Those were like the four things that led to relapse. And the hunger, we always say in America, hangry. I'm hangry
Yeah.
because I'm hungry. It makes me angry. So, and if you're lonely, you're insecure about yourself. It's gonna come off as either insecurity or aggression. And then the fear piece. Oh, the fear piece is so big. Like, a lot of the times the gentleman I would work with, and I intentionally use the word gentleman because I don't like to think of them as anything but, um, they would be so fearful for their own lives that they would attack others to prove that they were badass, and so it was driven by that fear. And if you remember anything about like trauma, there's usually two paths that is taken. There is a third path, but they don't talk about that in psychology, because if you did, you wouldn't be in the therapy office. So the first path would be the perpetrator. Like, they hurt me, I'm going to hurt other people so no one else can hurt me. And then the victim, oh no, poor, pitiful me. Everybody always hurts me. And then they always end up in this mindset and in this situation, chaos theory. They always end up in that same situation where they put themselves in a position where they are going to get attacked. And this is also caused by the amygdala, the fake alarm signal that tells them that they're unsafe when they're safe, and they're safe when they're unsafe, because the wires are crossed from the trauma. And then the third path is the healed path, the warrior path, the path of the one who rises and says, you can never mess with me again. I will conquer all. This is the path they don't talk about in psychology, which is so sad, because this is the path we need to take. This is the
Mhm.
future path, the energy
Yeah.
clearing. I did a video about that. The future of healing is an energy clearing,
Energy.
transmuting your trauma into your personal power. That's the wonderful thing about that.
Yes. That's beautiful. It was, it's just when we were talking about being an empath and taking on other people's struggles and one thing or another. It just reminds me of the film The Green Mile, because that was very much demonstrated in that movie, wasn't it? You could
Yes.
see it clearly,
Mhm.
that John Coffey was just going, okay, you're hurting, man. I'm gonna take all your pain, and I'm gonna and then he'd cough it out, and then he'd say, boss, I'm just tired, boss. I just want to lie down and rest. And
Mhm.
that was a great metaphor, I think, for working with hurt people, is that we can take it away from them, or we can take some of it away, and maybe they hold on to some of it or a lot of it, yet we can still be really, really drained, and tired from it.
Mhm.
That's it's fabulous. But this concept that you talk about, you were saying earlier, the strength, having that strength, being powerful, turning the turning the negative power into a positive,
Mhm.
making use of it.
Mhm.
Something I feel I need to do. I mean, I in certainly in the later years of my work, I really struggled with one of the managers there, because I found that he would drain me as well. And I have this way of sometimes with communication, is if I don't like to get, I try to avoid conflict where, as best as possible.
A lot of
Uh,
empaths do.
yeah, and he constantly attacking me, for sort of underperformance or something. What he called underperformance, and I just nod and I go, okay, okay. Then he get really frustrated because I wouldn't rise to it, and then and he said, this is about a year ago. Um, he said to me, he said, "You're not listening to me." I said, "No, I am listening." He said, "Well, you're not responding." I said, "But I'm actually listening to what you're saying, and I'm processing it in my mind." So, so anyway, we went on. He carried on anyway. Then he went on to another subject, and I stopped him. I said, "What?" I said, "By the way, just to let you know, I am listening." And he, and he went, "Don't get like that with me, you sunshine." And got really aggressive,
That
because
sounds like
actually,
typical narcissistic behavior, actually.
yeah,
It really does.
a complete narcissist, a complete, um, and he got really angry because basically I've taken the piss out of him for being, for being nasty, but I found it really difficult, and I'd almost always find myself pushing down and down and down, getting less and less confident, as
Yeah.
happens in relationships between people,
Oh, yeah.
um, in that sort of way. So, in my kind of way, it was a different kind of, it was a working relationship, but I didn't want to lose on it. I wanted to win on it. But in the end, I realised I had to walk away
Mhm.
and
Yep.
swallow the pride, and just go, okay, this is going nowhere. It's just what it is. So that's how it's finished up, and I'm so glad I did, because I think had I carried on working there, I think probably I'd have ended up with some kind of serious uh, illness. Probably a heart attack or a stroke or something, because the stress was knocking me sideways,
Yeah.
and really playing into that depression that I've almost always had in my life. Times when things go low and don't go right, and then going down that rabbit hole, which is really not pleasant at all. So it's just breaking away from it, and and also the thing around depression is about. I've also realised that with mood stuff is that when it comes about, I know I need to just accept it, that it's happening, and I call it getting on the bus. Right, I can't. doing about it while I'm on the bus, and I have to wait for the bus to get to its destination. So that takes self-care, it takes patience, um, and yeah, exactly. Just not kind of becoming too self-indulgent, and just accepting that it is as it is for that period of time. Felt a touch of it in the last 2 days, just a tiny bit, and I kind of just like be able to just go, well, hang on, let's just, all right, okay, if this is going to happen, then let it happen, and let me learn from it. And today's felt better, so that's a good thing.
So I like what you say about that. And I do feel that there is always something that we can learn from our moods. I am a firm believer that our emotions are catalysts that teach us and tell us that there's either something wrong or there's something good in our life. When it comes to depression, I spent 7 years of my life in a depression that was like so awful that it took me 5 years to bounce back from it. And it I never tried to figure out how to get out of that depression. It was just I just allowed it to happen. I didn't think there was any way out, and it led to like suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts, and it was like so damaging to my life, my family, everything around me. But now, like I see depression as something to conquer. Um, because if we just allow it to keep going and keep going and keep going, when's it going to stop? Like, what is it that we are going to finally figure out to get out of that depression? And when I was in counseling for myself and for others, like I would tell them, we have to force ourselves to move. We are creatures that are supposed to move. And when we are depressed, we just want to sleep or lay down. And I saw a perfect depiction of it once. It was a picture of a counter that was overflowing with cleaned dishes. And it said simply, "This is what depression looks like." And it is so true. You just have so little energy and you don't want to do so much that you just allow everything to go to waste. And when we don't try to fight back, when we don't try to force ourselves, and a lot of people say fake it till you make it. And I was a firm believer of that for a long time, uh, and I don't believe in medication anymore. I think it is a way to drown us, to stifle us, to stop us from actually experiencing what it is our bodies, our minds, our soul want us to experience. We are in depression for a reason. And if we don't try to figure out that reason, why would it ever go away? Why would it ever stop? And we have to truly be honest with ourselves, dive deep. And this is what we were talking about the last time on your podcast was the shadow work. You have to dive deep into those shadows and truly ask yourself, what is it that is making me sad? And then um I'm a firm believer in the number three. Three is a very good number for me. So I come up with this theory that they always say affirmations work, but unfortunately, they don't explain to you how to craft your own affirmations. They just tell you, oh, say this, this, and this. Okay. So I have a rule where my three affirmations. Okay. Okay, guys, I totally didn't think about the fact that I am in the sun and my laptop is made of metal, so it kind of overheated and cut us off. So, um, three affirmations. Okay. So the very first one that I like to talk about is the one that you absolutely believe, the one that you love about yourself. Like, I have beautiful eyes. The second one is something that everybody tells you that you can kind of sort of believe, but like, maybe you haven't caught on by yourself. And then the last one is one you don't believe, but you want to believe about yourself. Okay. We're not saying like something that is outrageous, but something that you want to believe about yourself. Like, I am strong, or I can get through anything, something that you may have a hard time believing. Okay. The reason I say it in this order too, is if you can believe the first one and you can kind of believe the second one, then you can believe the third one because you're not lying to yourself, right? So if you can
Yeah,
believe this third one, then this is the one that you really are going to work on. And this is the one where you're going to get the growth. Okay. We always push ourselves just a little bit further than our comfort zone for growth. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and end it today on those beautiful topics that we had. Thank you so very much, Martin, for joining me this week. And I am absolutely glad that you were my first healer helping other healers. So let us know one more time, what is the name of your podcast and how can they find you?
thank you, Angelina. My podcast is called Peace Unplugged. Now, I've got it as audio only, which you can find via Podbean and all the usual, and that syndicates to all the other usual places that people can get audio, and that's a lot of that is mainly about local issues. But I've just really been pushing on the video podcasts now, which are again Peace Unplugged via YouTube. I do. I'm doing a few shorts, but lots of interviews. So the main ones I'm doing really are the interviews I'm doing with people like yourself. Lots of people I'm connected with who are very similar to you, Angelina, and interesting. I like to kind of get into behind something that's a bit more challenging, and a bit curious about people who've got radical ideas about healing and about healthcare. Uh, so that's where we are with that. I thank you ever so much,
Thank you.
and God bless you.
Bless you, hun. I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye for now.